Okay, hello, John Dove here from the Advocacy Club. We've just had our public speaking session in March of 2023. Tonight, I've been watching some of the presentations that have been delivered. So I'm just going to deliver some feedback and deliver some tips based on what I've seen tonight. So the theme or the focus of tonight's session was speaking with conviction. So I'll be focusing a lot of my advice on how we speak with conviction and really get the presentation across well. So it all starts with with how you open the presentation. Now this sort of links back into something else I've spoken about before, which is building rapport with the audience. But at the start of the presentation, you need to think about how you're going to grab the attention of the audience. It's quite hard to start out with a sort of wishy-washy beginning and then try and grab the attention later. You need to do this right at the start of the presentation. So there's a couple of ways of doing this. And one tactic that I saw a couple of members doing tonight was to use the rhetorical question at the beginning of the presentation. So it could be a question related to, whatever the topic was. And it's a good way of posing a question. It makes your audience members feel like you're having a direct conversation with them. And if you pause at the end of that rhetorical question at the beginning, it just allows a few seconds for the questions to think in, gets the audience members thinking about the question, thinking about what their answer might be, and they're ready to listen to more. So that's a good way of starting the presentation before feeding in. Another way is sort of just an arresting opening with a bold statement. So we had somebody that gave quite a technical presentation about the eyes, and within the presentation, there were a few sort of quite shocking statistics. So a good way of starting the presentation would have been a bold statement to do with one of those statistics that really sort of pricks up the attention of the audience, gets them on the edge of the seat, and it makes them realize how important that topic is, and they're ready to listen to more. So the bold statement, maybe filled with a fact or a shocking statistic, is a good way of drawing out the attention of the audience. And a few people went with the approach of developing their introduction as well and saying, within this presentation, I'm going to make 3 points. Sometimes you can do that, but with this, I think this is a slightly less formal type of presentation than, for example, some of the legal advocacy that we do here at Advocacy Club. So it doesn't necessarily need to be so sort of court, doesn't need to be that sort of court type advocacy, if you're with me. So the introduction doesn't need to be so, I have 3 points to make, and these 3 points are, you can make it slightly more conversational than that. Then when you develop the presentation, you need to think about some of the sort of general presentation techniques. So number one is to speak at an appropriate pace. If you speak too quickly, it's hard for your audience to follow what you're talking about. And it also makes you seem like a nervous speaker as well. And the more nervous you appear, the less the audience will sort of add weight to what you're saying. So if we come back to the theme, speaking with conviction, a slower pace makes you seem like a more assured advocate, a more assured public speaker, and it gives you that approach that you are speaking with conviction. I think also adding to that, we can use a bit of pitch and pace throughout the presentation. It's a good way of modulating what you're saying, modulating the voice, and that adds to what you're saying as well. So coming back to this, we had a few people that delivered presentations, but it was sort of the topic and the subject matter was quite interesting, but the voice was kind of quite monotone throughout. And with this, particularly when you're talking about something that's passionate to yourself, or you're trying to convey the importance of something, varying the pitch and pace, you can increase the tempo at certain points, increase the volume if you're making a significant point. That's a good way to vary the pitch and pace, and it keeps what you're saying interesting, and also adds that element of conviction there. Don't forget as well that you can use the sort of gesticulation as well. Now, obviously we're on Zoom here, so all we can really see is somebody's head and shoulders, so hand gestures aren't really appropriate. But what I did see tonight was somebody using the use of the smile throughout. So when they're talking about something that they quite liked, you could see the smile come through on their face as they were presenting. And I think that shows a confident speaker, shows somebody that enjoys what they're talking about, enjoys the subject matter, and it puts the audience at ease as well. So having that smile on your face at certain points, obviously not always appropriate, but can be a tactic that's quite important. Another way that you can sort of add conviction to your message and really emphasize certain points is a good use of the pause. So if you make a significant point, particularly if you've you've made a point that's really quite shocking, so the use of the pause can be really quite important there. Back to sort of body language as well. Once again, as I say, because this is a sort of online format, it's hard to see the hands or see all of the hand gestures. But certain things are visible. So think about your body language and body posture. So you want to try and keep an open body posture. Having a sort of closed arms or anything like that gives a negative approach, I think. So try and avoid sort of closed arms at any point within the presentation. And then think about how you end as well. So, you don't want to get to the end of your presentation and finish with something along the lines of, that's my presentation, thank you. Think about a way that you can wrap it up quite nicely. Think about, can you mirror the opening line at the end so it brings the speech full circle? Can you end with a call to action, join our course, visit our website, whatever it might be? Think about a way that you can end the presentation, and it gives quite a nice conclusion to that. So those are just some of the tips based on what I've seen tonight, and I hope that you've found that helpful.